Hello everyone, our lesson for today is all about tariff barriers and import tariff. Now, what is tariff? One barrier to international trade is called tariff. It is defined as a tax that is imposed by the government on imported or exported goods. They are also known as customs duties. Tariff are taxes also are levied on goods entering or exiting a country and have consequences for both domestic consumers and producers. Now, what are the functions of tariff? Tariff have three primary functions. These are to serve as a source of revenue, to protect domestic industries, and to remedy trade distortions, or it is also known as punitive function. The revenue function comes from the fact that the income from tariff provides governments with a source of funding. In the past, the revenue function was indeed one of the major reasons for applying tariffs, but economic development and the creation of systematic domestic tax codes have reduced its importance in the developed countries. For example, Japan generates about 90 billion yen in tariff revenue, but this is only 1.7% of total tax revenues in the fiscal year 1996. In some developing countries, however, revenue may still be an important tariff function. Tariff is also a policy tool to protect domestic industries by changing the conditions under which goods compete in such a way that competitive imports are placed at a disadvantage. In point of fact, a cursory examination of the tariff rates employed by different countries does seem to indicate that they reflect to a considerable extent the competitiveness of domestic industries. In some cases, tariff quotas are used to strike a balance between market access and the protection of domestic industry. Tariff quotas work by assigning low or no duties to imports up to a volume or up to a certain volume, and it is called as the primary duties, and then higher rates or the secondary duties to any imports that exceed that level. Now let's go to the types of tariffs. So these are the classification. Tariffs can be classified based on what is being taxed. The first one is import tariffs. These are taxes on goods that are imported into a country. They are more common than export tariffs. Now, export tariffs are uh, taxes on goods that are leaving a country. This may be done to raise tariff revenue or to restrict world supply of a good. The next classification is based on purpose. The first one is protective tariffs, which refers to or which is defined as tariffs levied on in order to reduce foreign imports of a product and to protect domestic industries. Second is revenue tariffs, and it is a tariff levied in order to raise revenue for the government. The third classification is on how the duty amount is valued. Now, the first one is specific tariffs. These are tariffs that levy a flat rate on each item that is imported. For example, a specific tariff would be a fixed $1,000 duty on every car that is imported into a country, regardless of how much the car cost. The second is ad valorem tariff. These are tariffs based on a percentage of the value of each item. For example, an ad valorem tariff would be a 20% tax on the value of the car imported into a country. The last one is compound tariff. Now, these are tariffs that are a combination of specific tariffs and valorem tariffs. For example, a compound tariff might consist of a fixed $100 dollar duty plus 10% of the value of every imported goods. Now let's go to the tariff rates. Obviously, one of the most important components of in tariff measures is the rate at which the tariff is imposed. As noted in the discussion of three functions of tariffs, any imposition of a tariff has the potential to reduce the welfare of the world economy as a whole. Since 1947, the GOT has been the standard bearer in an ongoing process of reducing tariff levels. During tariff negotiations known as rounds, the most recent of which was the Uruguay round, countries set ceilings on their tariff rates. This is known as the bound rate and refers to the highest allowable rate in contrast to the rate that is actually applied, which is referred to as the effective rate. The GOT has been successful in encouraging mutual reduction of these rates. Since the conclusion of the Uruguay round, there have been further efforts to reduce tariffs in specific sectors. For example, the Technology Agreement successfully removed tariff barriers to information equipment and technology, and the initiative has been discussed in APEC. The Uruguay round resulted in a final average bound rate for industrial goods, or the weighted average by trade volume, of 1.5% in Japan, 3.6% in the United States, 3.6% in the Europe, and 4.8% in Canada, as what you can see in the table. So Japanese tariff rates are thus comparatively low. Now, in conclusion, tariffs can be levied on goods being imported in a country or import tariff, or exported from a country or export tariff. They may be levied in order to protect domestic producers, or it is called as protective tariff, or to raise revenue for the government, or the revenue tariff. Specific tariffs levy on a fixed duty on the goods, and then ad valorem tariffs are based on a percentage of the goods value. Now, compound tariffs are a combination of specific and ad valorem tariffs. Now, tariffs often increase domestic producer surplus and the quantity of a good supplied domestically, but hurt domestic consumer surplus. And lastly, tariff is a system of government imposed duties levied on imported or exported goods. A list of such duties, or the duties themselves. So that's the end of our discussion for today. Have a good day, everyone.